Hi, I'm Melissa from SoGoSurvey, and I'm very excited to be perhaps the first to welcome you to SoGoSurvey 27.0. We're going to take a quick tour of a few of the highlights of this latest release, but of course, I should say up front, some of these things vary by account, so do log in and check out to see what's new in your account. You can do it now. It's live and ready for you to check out. When you first log in, over the next week or so, you're going to see a splash page that walks you through some of the highlights. I'm going to go ahead and skip past this, go directly to the account, because that's the same reason we're here today. Alright, when you first log into your account, you're going to see that things look pretty much the way that you might expect. Of course, we make improvements along the way, so there's a few small changes that you'll notice, but we'll highlight a few of the bigger changes today. Of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You've got options in the Help Center on the right-hand side of your account when you log in, and from the Help tab on the right-hand side from every screen in your account. So let's jump into one of the biggest changes here that you'll see visually is the next time you create a new project, you'll have a new flow. When I create this project, of course, again, options vary by your account. I'm going to go ahead and select a survey, no surprise, our basic project type. And just like normal, I can start with any of these options. I'm going to go template bank today. We've got a new view of the template bank as well. You'll also notice too, if I've decided to change my mind and return to an earlier step in this process, up in the top left-hand corner, I can jump back to either of those stages as well. Now the template bank has a refresh, so you can easily scroll through options down here. Recommended category, additional categories. If you like to search by category, you can do that from here. If you like to search by name, you can do it up here. You can see a list view as well. Here I'm going to go ahead and say, let's check out a product feedback survey. Just like before, you can use the template directly or take a closer look. And when you take that closer look, of course, you'll see options on the left that tell you a little bit more about this project, some stats about it as well too. And on the right-hand side, you will see both an example of the survey in this case, as well as the option to view it through different screens, and a quick look at what some results might look like as well too. So if you actually run this project, what a report might look like from here. And this is an Omni report, so a nice looking one to give you a view and your team a view to see if this is something that might be useful for you at the high level. If you do think this is useful for you, on the left-hand side you can use this template, of course, or start from scratch. If you'd like to download it so that other people on your team can take a look, you can obviously click the download icon right there. I'm going to say use this template for right now. See a little bit more to that flow as well. Again, continuing down that same step-by-step process. Here I can come in and enter new information. So I'm going to call this product feedback survey 27.0. Again, same options, but slightly different UI. Main up here, put it in the folder of your choice. You also notice too, I don't have the chance to change my default language, but I get a message about why. You also notice this throughout the platform. If you have any additional things that are unavailable for you, like here in this language choice or anywhere else, if you see an option that's grayed out, you'll be able to hover and get a little bit more information about why that option's unavailable. Like, why can't I rearrange questions? Well, because you haven't added any questions. So logic, of course, too, but a little bit more clarity added in your messaging. So go ahead and create this one. Nice looking project, of course, on its way, being built just for us just now. Very nice, very quick and easy as well. So options that you'll see within the platform here look pretty much the same. Few small tweaks that you might notice. A couple things to highlight in a project. One of them would be, for example, a rating scale question. We always love the rating scale. We love the Smiley rating scale as well too. But we're introducing in this release additional options for rating scale format. So this is available in surveys. It's also available in CX as well too if you have that in your account. So CX metric questions. In addition to having the normal scale and the normal Smiley rating, you also now have the option to customize the Smiley scale. So this is a fun one. You'll notice some of these are based on the color scheme in your visual settings. If you are somebody who's just wanted, numbers, for example, you can have that. If you'd really like colors visually, some of these colors will not change based on your color scheme, but again, okay, how happy are you about this feature? And of course, you'll have the option there to preview it. Really unhappy, all the way to very happy. The same option is also available in the like-dislike question. So if you have one of those, you'll notice that of course you've always had thumbs for this question type. Here you still have some thumbs, but you also have some additional options: hearts, broken hearts, happy faces, sad faces as well too. So if you'd like to update those. So, not a great question, but good placeholder. So good options to get those updates in here as well too. You'll also see some more options like embedding videos will work a little bit differently. We'll come back to website feedback survey here shortly as well, but on the design side of things, these are some of the good options that you are going to see. I mentioned already distribution, so let's just jump over there. Again, just high-level stuff here to keep you moving. But some of the things that you'll notice in this release, you'll see if you're using automated distribution, which is a really great option, especially if you're doing touchpoint projects over and over again, pulling that contact list in an automated way and sending out surveys regularly. You're going to see some additional options: expanded functionality and automated distribution flow, as well as the messaging, if there's an error or who you'd like that error to go to, so that they can take immediate action. More information, more clarity, and more controls, sending multiple reminders, and some other options there as well. The other one I wanted to highlight for you as well is a follow-up to a relatively recent feature for us, is the ability to send a single-use link simultaneously to both an email address and a person's phone number. So the same link sent simultaneously in two different directions. So that's not a new feature for us, but the option that we're adding on in this release too is the option to additionally send automated reminders down both tracks at the same time. So remember, for this functionality to work, you need, of course, a contact list that has both a name, an email field, as well as a phone field. So I have the cleverly named contact list. Remember, naming your contact list is always a really good practice. Here I want to send an SMS invite. Notice it adds it to the wizard up here at the top. And when I send that SMS invite, of course I want to be able to customize it a little bit. So I can customize the text here, make sure that I'm pulling from the right field here. In this case, of course, it's called phone directly. And now we have options to, of course, send it right away. But the one thing that I want to highlight is sending reminders here to non-participants. Those are automated, intelligent reminders. As we know, they only go to people who have not yet responded. Those reminders now will go out both simultaneously to email and through SMS. And again, it's a single-use link, so if you send it to me at both places and I participate on my phone first, then the link that's in my email won't work. So it's still only one single-use link, of course, but really great functionality that we can nudge people in both directions. So good expansion there. Pretty excited to see that one come out. Another one I'll highlight too within distribution is the website feedback survey. So just like its name tells you, of course, this is the option to collect feedback on your website from, no surprise, your visitors. And this is over here under Embed. So we've been expanding embed options a lot recently. And one of them is, of course, within website feedback. We want to be able to make sure that this website feedback survey, of course, matches your website, looks good, matches your style. So we've expanded this view here a little bit too, so you have a customization on the right-hand side that updates along with just like visual settings. You're making the settings on the left, and the updates happen on the right too. So if you decide, you know what, I want actually this button to be a different color, I want it to match my website, here's my hex code, I actually want it to be a square, for example, or perhaps you'd like to have your own icon, for example. Maybe you'd rather have a button. You know, it's up to you. So you can decide which option that you'd like to have for embedding your website feedback survey. And again, this is, for example, mine is a product feedback survey on 27.0. So perhaps I'd like to put this on my website on the landing page for 27.0, so I can ask you, how did you feel about this release? Or, of course, I could simply ask you about how you feel about the website in your experience. So once I've decided that everything looks good from here, I can generate that code down at the bottom. A very simple step process, but it's a really powerful one. Again, if you know you're running your own website, you know where to put this code as well too. Again, depending on whether you want it on the entire site or if you want it on a particular page, just need to embed it there and check how it works. If you need to come back and make any changes, of course you can do that, change colors, stuff like that too. But the point is, we want to be able to integrate that with that flow so you can collect feedback at any time. And the website feedback survey is a really great way to do it. So lots of cool stuff happening in design and distribution. We always love to spend a lot of time talking about reports, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to a project that has a little bit more data in it. Unfortunately, no one's responded to my survey that I just created yet. And you'll note a little reminder too. When I've enabled this one as a website feedback survey, I've got that little icon. So if that little icon doesn't look familiar to you, maybe it's something that you should consider trying on your website. Even internal pages can be a great place to collect from your own employees as well. So again, I'm going to jump to one that has a little bit more data in here to highlight some of the updates to reports. And a lot of these updates, as you know, are happening within the Omni report, the one report that has it all. And of course, we continue to add functionality to this report. I want to start up here with score. And score, you know, is of course associated not with points like an assessment, but with rating and weights. So you're only going to see options here for including in your score. This part isn't new, but just to recap, you're only going to see options here related to rating scale questions that you might have, whether they're just a single rating scale question like this or a grid, for example. So here we know that we've had the options to do overall, specific questions, or grouped questions. I'm just going to go with overall for right now, and I'm going to stick with weighted score. Let's say overall, here, for example. And what's changing in score a little bit here is we've had the option to include the number, display it a little bit differently here, but also we're deciding and giving you the option to customize this graph a little bit more. And one of the options that's rolled out here is dial. Dial is very beautiful. Of course, too, we're used to it for example, NPS. But here you have the option to display a custom dial that relates, of course, to the scale based on your rating scale question or questions that were included in the calculation as well, and of course to change the colors and such. So scale is a nice one for, so dial is a nice one for the overall rating scale. If you do have, of course, you can have the ability to do segmentation, show the data table, any other things that you have had before with score overall. Another change that you'll see when you have specific questions or groups of questions is the ability to sort them to make it easier for your audience to understand the report. So really nice one. Of course, you can add that to the canvas. We'll come back to canvas options in a minute. All right, so score we've got up at the top. I want to jump down to a few additional options. One of them here that we've made an update with is in statistical widget. So as you know, for any different question type that is based on numbers, like a rating question, you will see the ability to show or hide the statistical widget. And once you've got it down here, now we've got the option to drill down into the specifics of min and max, who gave those responses, but you'll also see the ability to manage those statistical values. So if you decide there are only specific items that you'd like to include on your canvas, you can do that from here as well. And just like here, just like on any other answer option too, if you find that, of course, I think you probably already know this, but if you find that you'd like to learn more about this specific group, here this is 16 people, you can click on that answer option and it will open up for you those individual responses. That's now available not only from within the account, but also when you share this report with other people, those people will also be able to drill down as well too. So a lot of opportunities there to learn more from your data at the drill down level. And one last thing to highlight before we move over to the canvas is the word cloud. So the word cloud, of course, is beautiful, very visual. In some cases though, we've heard that people don't want to add the word cloud, they just would rather add the cards without the cloud, as it were. So you can do that down here, just the cards to the canvas. You can also add the cloud itself, of course, to the canvas if you prefer, but now you have the opportunity to update them separately. And if you do choose to add all cards to canvas, the option down here at the bottom, with this release, you'll also see those update dynamically as well too. So any future cards, any future open-ended responses that come in will also be updated on the canvas. Okay, my beautiful report is ready to go. Let's move over to the canvas here. So in the canvas, I've got everything all set. My goal here now is to split up this information so I could send it to all of my department heads. For example, this is planning a company retreat. So I'd like all of the department heads to be able to see how their team is feeling about this, what they're looking forward to, etc. And instead of having to run a filter, download, or running the segmentation report, which we already have, which doesn't have as much customization functionality, I want to have this beautiful report split simultaneously. And so I'm going to use report level segmentation. So you'll see this again right beside the canvas up here at the top. And I can choose my segmenting question, which in this case is department, select the segmenting question itself, and the options that I'd like to include. Depending on your use case, if you'd like to merge any answer options together, maybe you'd like to put some of the groups together. Operations, for example, might be made up of smaller departments or teams. You can merge those together depending on how you would like to be able to share those results. And now from here, you can see I have that filter / segmenting option up here at the top. So here, if I'd like to see now, how does human resources feel about this? From here on the canvas, I can do that right from the top level. Again, similar to a filter. However, if I'd really like to be able to split all of that data, I have a couple different options. So I have one option, which is to export this data. So I can export one or more segments into Excel or PowerPoint. Of course, I could export the entire canvas if I prefer, just to see that high level. The other option that I have as well here too is to be able to share this by email. So in this case, I might want to send it to each different department head. Just enter their email address and it goes directly out to those people as well. If I have a contact list, I can do that from here. So pretty nice to be able to just say, here's this person, here's their manager, or here's this department, and here's the manager of that department, for example. So obviously you need a contact list set up and ready, but really cool and very efficient to get that out and going. So really useful functionality for lots of different projects, including 360 performance evaluation, any time in which you need to do a lot of segmenting, maybe segmenting upon segmenting. So the big slices to see like me versus my manager, for example, side by side. So lots of good information on this report and a huge, huge time saver. So I should also mention segmentation coming to Omni on short open-ended responses. Again, it's really hard to cover all of these things in a single video too, but that's a really great one related to segmentation on Omni. So more on that to come. I do want to spend the last few minutes here with you on Sogo Cx, which is obviously a really cool thing that we've been working on as well too. And a lot of our clients, maybe you in fact, are using Sogo Cx to work on customer experience. So I want to just highlight a few things that we've expanded on CX in this release. And of course, all of them have to do with better reporting, better information, and better insights. So I'm going to just jump to an example here. A few things to mention within design of CX specifically. As I mentioned earlier, those metric questions, you are also going to have the option to be able to customize the smiley scale that you see on these ones, for example. So if you're somebody who prefers something you think it looks a little bit more professional, just to have numbers, for example, or you'd like to have a different style of design, you can do that as well from here. So similar functionality that you saw earlier. Still have question level tags as well too. Another change from here though, beyond the question level tags, is response level tags. So response level tags, the concept here you can see is, I want to ask about overall satisfaction, but I'd also like to be able to find out which team did they interact with. Was it sales team, support team, or training team? Because on my dashboard, I want to be able to see what's going on with sales, what's going on with support, and what's going on with training as well. This is a really good use case for satisfaction with lots of different branches in your organization, or lots of different locations, or stores, or products as well too. So response level tags, pretty straightforward. They're associated with a specific response. So when once you have your question and your answers in, again, this is a radio button question or a few specific question types that make perfect sense for it. You can come here, tag answers, and you'll be able to search from or add any of the tags from your existing tags and categories here. Training. And that way, when I look at these tags on the dashboard, I'll be able to use them more or less as filters to say, show me what's happening with training. I'd like to know what's the overall satisfaction trend associated with interactions with that team. In terms of also learning a little bit more about people's experiences at a more granular level, you also see now when you work on a metric question, you'll also see the option to add a follow-up question. Here I don't see it because I've already added it. And notice that's another example of, if you can't act, it'll tell you why. It'll tell you what that functionality is that you've either already finished or is unavailable for you at this time. So again, adding follow-up questions is something that you can do directly from adding the question itself. You'll see that little option here. It's already been added, so it's not going to show up as an option here, but when you're writing this question, it'll prompt you right away, do you want that follow-up question? and then you'll have the opportunity to add those directly. And here it'll show up as a follow-up question. You can choose the positive, you can choose the negative. If you'd like to make any changes, you can click directly on that label, and you'll see, of course, it's QDL, but it's already set up for you. So you can customize this text if you'd like. I like happy to hear, it's very positive, but if you'd like it to sound a little bit different, if you'd like to modify the text, so if you would rather say glad to hear, for example, you can change that text, modify it. But here you're just setting up the logic. You might say that I want to know about this for people who say neutral. I'd rather also, I think that's positive. So you can decide what are the conditions, what is the text of those messages a little bit, but just keep it simple. So I'm going to call this one here. I want to change the text on this one, so I'm going to say glad to hear, for example. So follow-up questions are really useful because they're specifically tagged as follow-up questions. What that's going to do for you is it's going to enable you to view text analysis for those questions on the dashboard as well too. So really powerful. We know the dashboard is really designed around metrics, so I'm going to just jump up to that. It's all about numbers. It's all about being able to graph content, trends and such. But the sort of deeper side sometimes, not just key drivers as well, which offer us plenty of insights, but those open-ended responses. So I have just set up that survey. I don't have any open-ended responses yet, but I will see that text analysis option appear as soon as I start collecting. Again, remember that is for those follow-up questions only. You're not going to see that for other open-ended questions unless they're set up that way. So one more thing to point out. There are always a lot more things to point out, but I'll just focus on one here, which is the idea of setting goals. So if you have goals, which of course we all do, you have the ability to set up those goals. Up here in the top right, you'll see this settings section in the dashboard continues to expand, of course, as we have more and more options. And up here on the left, metric goals, here you can set a goal for any of your metrics. Here, these are my, of course, standards, and this is one of my custom metrics as well. So you can set what goal that you're tracking for, you're looking for, and decide if you'd like to show it in everything, in just the overview, or in the comparison tab specifically. So if you have different goals you'd like to present in different sections, you can do that as well, of course. Again, options to manage all of your tags, categories, etc. still here within settings. But now once I've applied that, here I'm going to be able to see, here is my goal, very straightforward. Ooh, got really close there. And here it's going to let me know, what was met, what was not met, what the difference is. And again, same trends that you've seen here, these little wiggly lines that tell you what's going on. What is the movement? Is it up or down? Slightly different curves in the graph a little bit now to get a little bit more clarity. And you're also going to see a little bit more here under insights. What are the lowest performing drivers overall across all of this, across all of NPS within, notice, specific quarters, for example. So you've got a lot of interesting information that you can come across here depending on how far you want to drill down. More and more information, again, based on tags. Everything that is showing up here is tagged in some way based on the filters and projects that I have within my account. So definitely a lot of cool stuff happening in CX. There's obviously a lot of stuff happening still to come, and more as we continue to grow and explore. So as you have questions, please do reach out to us. Drop us a note, like I said, over here on the right-hand side. You can always schedule a call, chat with us. If you do have suggestions or feedback, drop your suggestions here in the Help Center. Our team is always happy to hear from you and get your feedback and suggestions, because that's how we build future releases, and it's really based on your feedback because, of course, we're a feedback company. So we look forward to hearing from you soon. Best wishes, happy exploring, and take care.